Hey everybody, today we're going to talk about what you actually need if you want to start playing Warhammer 40,000. If you've decided you finally want to give Warhammer 40,000 a shot and you're trying to figure out what you need in order to get started, the first thing you might do is look at the Games Workshop website and you come across some of the Get Started sets. And these are great. They come with models, dice, rules, everything you need to get started, of course. And those would be great options. They range from $40 to $80 to $160, which can be a little shocking in terms of a sticker shock. One issue with them is that they come with fixed sets of models. You can't pick different factions. They come with Space Marines and Death Guard, which are a faction of Chaos Space Marines. But what if you don't like either of those two factions? Now, Space Marines are a great faction to start with. They're very simple and straightforward, so there's nothing wrong with picking Space Marines. But let's say you're not interested, they don't do it for you. What do you actually need? Well, the answer is you don't need a whole lot. You're going to need to find some models that you like. Now, you can go to the store and buy a squad of any faction you like, Eldar, Tyranids, anything like that, and just buy a cheap box of a unit that you like the look of, and you can start with that. There's no problem with that. You don't have to start with what Games Workshop has picked out for you. That box, besides the models, will come with instructions to put them together. And on those instructions, as almost always, I'm sure there's some exceptions, the data sheet for the unit that you've bought. And that'll provide the stats for the unit that you've chosen. Now, you don't actually even need to use Games Workshop models. If you want to try Warhammer 40,000 and you're not ready to commit to anything financially, that's entirely understandable. You could use little plastic army men. There's nothing wrong with that. You just need to decide what unit they represent and find a data sheet for that unit. You could probably Google that or just ask somebody and they'll give you the stats for it. It's not a big deal. In addition to actual models to play with, you'll need some dice. Probably between 1 to 10 dice is fine. You'll find that using just one will draw things out to be a little tedious. Having a handful of dice, it will make things flow a lot more smoothly. You'll need some sort of ruler or measuring tape, and then the core rules to the game. Now, if you've looked at the rule book for the game, you'll see that it's very thick and costs a decent amount of money. I think it's $40 or $50. But again, you don't actually need to buy that. Games Workshop offers the core rules to the game for free as a download off their website, which I'll link that in the description below the video. And the actual rules to the game are about 10 to 15 pages. That includes diagrams and descriptions of how everything needs to take place. The rule book, if you look at that in person, it can be a bit intimidating because of how thick it is. But most of that, certainly way more than half, is actually just storyline and lore and an explanation of the galaxy and all that stuff to really help you immerse yourself in the game. Now, the actual rules part of that book is not nearly as intense as it might look from the outside, and that's the case with all the Games Workshop rule books for the specific armies and the supplements and the campaign books and stuff like that. It's mostly storyline and lore to expand and move the story forward, and then the rules are a much smaller section within that. And that's really neat because, again, like I've mentioned previously, the storyline to the game is just fascinating. So all that is worth it. But if you're not interested in that, again, you can just download the core rules for the game for free off the Games Workshop website. And then having a surface like a coffee table or a dining table to play on is really all you need. And you can set up a few books or coffee cups or anything like that to maybe block some line of sight and act as buildings or something like that to or hills to move on and over and around and all that stuff, just to break up the surface of the table a little bit. So if you've been thinking about Warhammer 40,000 and you've looked online at it and seen some of the prices and thought, I'm not at all ready to drop money on something that looks as intense or as expensive as what you might see, don't worry. You can try it out for free, essentially, if you've got a few models and some dice and a measuring tape already. Just find a friend who's interested with you and give it a shot. The other thing, if you do feel like moving forward, or maybe you do want to buy one of the starter sets, remember they come with 2 different factions, Space Marines and Death Guard, and you can just find a friend that would want to split it with you. I'll take the Space Marines, you take the Death Guard, or vice versa, and you can split the cost of the box that way, which is another great way to get started. Having a friend involved with you will make it much easier to keep progressing through the game without having to find a group of strangers at the game store or whatever that you might not be comfortable with if you're that type. If you have any questions about getting started, or if you're a beginner in the hobby or anything like that, I would love to answer your questions and help you out. You can find me on Facebook at Hobbyhammer TV, or on Instagram, or just comment below this video, and I would love to chat with you and help you get into this hobby. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments or any ideas for future videos, anything you'd like more information on, please comment down below. Like, subscribe, tell a friend. See you around.